everyone, welcome to IC Stories. This is episode 45. I am so thrilled for today's episode because I wanted to give you a very quick intro, but I think it'll be best if you do it.
Sure.
But I want to give an intro in the sense that on a personal note, I want to introduce you to my mentor and a good friend, Mr. Ian Utile. Hi.
Hi. Thanks for having me. Episode 45.
Yes. The big 4-5 just for you.
Thank you. Well, I love ICP. So congratulations, ICP Hub Philippines, for being part of this community. Why do I love ICP? Well, I remember listening to Dominic several years ago, and I'll get to my intro in just a second. And I remember thinking to myself, the decentralized world needs this. Like, we need an alternative to Amazon Alexa and their whole AWS. We need an alternative to Google's GCS, an alternative to Microsoft's Azure, and the current options were not enough. And so this is your community, right?
Yes.
This is live. So we're live with our community live behind us. And so I'll introduce myself in context of live. I've done over 1,000 live interviews, kind of like this.
Yes.
Part of them are for an event that some people may have heard of, ATTN.LIVE, that I co-produced and helped launch. I also co-produced a bunch of AI events. So part of my background that people may want to be, kind of know a bit about me is I co-produce events, like here locally, the Philippine Blockchain Week. I helped a couple of the partners, Donald Lim and Jay Ha, launch that in 2022. And again, we had another event in September. So co-producing events is part of what I do. And then I build companies. So I've co-founded 8 different companies. My newest company is ATTN.LIVE. We can see the banners above us because we're in our suite where I'm doing interviews for ATTN.LIVE, and you've come into our space for that. So co-founding companies, I've been an entrepreneur in residence at 4 different places. So the first one was the Innovation Hub inside of Twitter's headquarters in San Francisco on 10th and Market. That kind of famous building where you had the big Twitter sign where Elon Musk tore it down and put an X there instead. So that used to be my office. My friend started that Innovation Hub. I remember being in the elevator, Jack Dorsey would walk in, everybody's like, oh, there's Jack. It was a big deal. First time I actually ever saw Jack was like 15 years ago.
Wow.
Of all things, at a faith conference called Catalyst.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and he wanted to come talk to all the pastors. There was like, I don't know, let's say 5,000, 10,000 pastors there. He wanted to come talk to the pastors about the importance of short form communication and what he was trying to accomplish with Twitter, and the reason why faith communities should be thoughtful in adopting it. I remember that was the first time I ever saw him. I remember thinking, this guy is interesting.
Of all places.
Yeah. It was like 15 years ago, 16. So being an entrepreneur in residence there, I was for 2 nonprofits. I was for University in San Francisco. And then I guest lecture at 5 different global universities. 5 now. Yeah.
That's cool.
New universities keep asking me. And then it's funny because the students will say, where'd you go to school? And then, I didn't go to school. I didn't go to college. I wouldn't say that college failed me. I'd say I failed college. I don't think I'm meant for college. I would sit there when I tried to go for a while, and I'd sit there and I'd think, I can't do this. This is so boring. I want to go build something. I want to go do something with my life. So in summary, if I had to introduce myself to people, I'm a father. I'm a husband. I love being a dad. It's my favorite thing is being a dad. I have 3 sons, 15, 11, and 7, and it's a great joy to be a husband as well. I find those things to be the most important in life. But when it comes to business, I co-produce events, as I mentioned. I start tech companies like ATTN.LIVE, and I guest lectured at schools, and in between companies, I don't know what to do. I go and be an entrepreneur in residence. And then I have great joy in spending time with you and other people here in the Philippines. I've been coming to the Philippines, I think my first time was 2008. So 16 years I've been coming here. My first experience was flying into Manila, and I brought...
This is a great story.
Like 45 people with me from California. I had a commune. We were a band, a musician, a band. And so I had about 20 at that point, 22 people on our team, and then I had another like 25 come from California to support us. And we flew into Manila, Then we flew to Negros Orient, and we were in Dumaguete, and we did 28 concerts
That
in
is
13
wild.
days. So we took our band and we broke our band up into 2 or 3 different groups. And basically, like, one group would go to an orphanage, and one group would go to a coffee shop, one group would go to, like, the streets, right? And we do like 3 concerts, and we meet that night in an arena, right? Or we did a big event at Silliman University. I remember we had like 45-minute set at Silliman. And the students didn't want us to stop. And it was a moment. It was like a moment of moments.
Yeah.
Like, for a lot of people that were part of our team, that was like the all-time peak moment of the experience of us being together. Because that went on for like hours. We ran out of songs. We ran out of cover songs.
You were still there.
The team just had to start making up new songs. It's like, let's go with G chord, G, C, A. You know, okay, sing. Just come up with something. You know, it was like one of those moments. So
Keep it going.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's a little bit of my background. My first introduction after listening to Dominic with ICP is Liz, who helped with some fundraising for the parent organization and led the global community. She brought me in to do a live stream and talk about NFT NYC.
That's cool. It's full circle now.
Yeah.
Now you're on live
and then we brought the team to NFT NYC, and they did different events, and I got to know the team there that way, and got to, you know, I met a lot of the entrepreneurs at that time and stuff they were working on. It was very exciting. So that's a little bit of my, I like one wheels. This is my one wheel. It's like a motorcycle the size of a skateboard, and I like to ride around on this thing.
If you know Ian, you know
I'm
that
always on
he's
the one wheel.
always on this.
Always on the one wheel.
Yeah, it's iconic at this point. That's why we have to feature it.
Yeah. Plus, I have a controller back here in case this live stream ends. I can hide the controller for the video people.
That's the only reason why it's here.
I really have it.
We're
Just so I can
kidding
pet
about
it. It's my friend. Hi, One Wheel.
We're also going to be interviewing we're going to have a special episode for the One Wheel.
Actually, I built a whole personality through OpenAI's ChatGPT, and we'll just press this special button that doesn't exist, and it'll start talking to us. Probably not that far away.
Exciting, for sure.
OpenAI just did a big thing about
I
their competitive
Yeah.
approach to Alexa and Google Assistant and Apple Siri. So, yeah, I mean, it sounds like iPhone just is about ready to drop Siri and go with OpenAI.
I know. I heard.
It's pretty wild.
It's a whole
Pretty
different
wild.
conversation that I'm so excited to
That's
have.
how I use OpenAI. I only talk to ChatGPT.
Oh, really?
I have it on my action button, my iPhone 15 Pro, that left top button, the
Just
action
ready
button. I
to
just
go.
hold it down, and then I just start having conversation.
I think
And then I have like the normal human voice to where it sounds like a dude that doesn't quite know what he's talking about. He'd be like, he throws in lots of uhs, or it throws in lots of uhs, and you knows, and things of that nature.
done.
So the live stream just ended.
Yeah.
And you know what I always play at my house is this right here. I'll put this on because why not? So what I always play at my house, for those that are listening and not watching, you're like, are they ever going to talk again? I'm looking
What,
for...
is it done?
Here it is.
that
Waves
it?
of the World. This is my jam. I live at the ocean.
This is cool.
I live at the ocean. My balcony at my house actually has the ocean splash up against it. And, I can see the wharf in Santa Cruz County, the Capitola Wharf. And basically I have 2 TVs in my living room.
It's so big.
I have an 85-inch TV. And I have a 65-inch TV because, one TV is not enough. And I always have the waves playing on both TVs while I have the ocean breeze and the salt water coming through. So
It's a vibe. I mean, I
think so.
Oh, is that the reason why it's blue? Like this one is blue. Does it kind of, because it reminds you of the waves?
I love it.
Oh, that's cool.
We picked our colors and our fonts off of Hedera.
Oh.
So Hedera, which is arguably, people can say whatever they want. This is the ICP channel, so I imagine the ICP team would say some really optimistic, positive things about ICP's network.
Yeah.
But arguably, Hedera uses the least amount of energy, is the fastest and least expensive traditional distributed ledger technology. It's not really a blockchain. It's built a bit differently. So my friends that founded Hedera, Manson Lehman, their team chose the slogan, Hello Future.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that was Attention Live slogan.
Oh,
So
really?
we didn't know each other at that point. So I was at this conference in Las Vegas in 2019, and I go, I see Hedera, and they have these Hello Future t-shirts. I was like, can I have a t-shirt? So they give me one. And I go, how long have you been using Hello Kitty? That's our thing.
Yeah.
That's our slogan.
Why is it here?
And they had been using it around the same time, probably a little bit before us. So I never changed ours. We were always ATTN.LIVE, Hello Future. And then we went through a rebrand, and I decided to drop Hello Future because even though Hedera is like an informal partner, and maybe over time we'll formalize that more, I thought, probably best to just take the moment of rebrand and switch our slogan out.
Own as well.
So I switched from Hello Future to Amplify the Future. That's really what we do at ATTN.LIVE.
Yeah.
But then I figured, well, if I'm giving up the slogan, I'm taking their brand identity. So I took their colors and their fonts, and so this is actually Hedera's color.
Let me at least
I stole the color. It's my color now.
You heard it here first. Yeah, it's yours now.
Anybody from Hedera that sees this, like, that didn't look familiar. Ian took our color. Why do you do that?
Now I know why I keep staring at it.
Yeah.
And that's running through.
But it does. It flows with the ocean.
Yeah.
It flows with the ocean.
It's a perfect branding.
Yeah.
But I want to ask about this. Amplify the future. That's so powerful. Why did you pick that, and how does it relate to the mission of ATTN.LIVE?
Yeah, well, amplifying the future is what our clients do with our product, and it's what we do for our clients.
Yeah.
So ATTN.LIVE is simply a content creation tool. It's a different way of doing content creation. You put content through our system, and then we send that content to your social media sites, like your YouTube page, and then we mint what's being created, the image, either static or moving, and the audio, we mint that to your MetaMask wallet.
Yeah.
And so you can mint either Ethereum tokens or Polygon tokens. Eventually we'll have ICP as a integrated blockchain, whether for media file storage or just as an alternative, because ICP has a pretty successful NFT approach over time. Hedera, Solana, all of them will be able to use our system. So basically, you put content through our system, and as a minimum, we protect your content.
Yeah.
Because if you use TikTok or YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or any of them, they basically own your content when you put it through their system using their app.
Yeah.
And then you get a license to your own content, but it's not really your own anymore. So when you use our system, you're protecting your content. And then second, we'll mint it. And so you can choose to give away tokens to people that are limited or have utility of access or whatever utility you want, non-commercial rights, commercial rights. You can give tokens away for people's attention. So now all of a sudden a content creator can compensate their community for their attention by giving them something, or you can sell them. You can sell them for $1 or $10,000, whatever you want to do. So we amplify the future with our product. We believe that the future is decentralized. We believe the future is fully integrated into distributed ledgers and blockchains and fully integrated into AI. So OpenAI's ChatGPT is integrated into our system. I've been working with the OpenAI team since Clubhouse days, like 2020, 2021. I remember the very first GPT came on and was talking with us in Clubhouse. So at ATTN.LIVE, we amplify the future with our product for content creators. And then our clients are amplifying the future, right? They're declaring as a creator what's happening in the world, where the world's going, and they're basically amplifying the future that they want to create.
Yeah, that's really great. And this is not just like something that we already did this. Like we had an example of this. We did something great with ATTN.LIVE at NFT NYC.
That was
recently,
fun,
right? I would love to tell the story, but I'm interviewing you. So I want to hear from your perspective, like, what was that like? What was the event like of us going at NFT NYC, having this big booth, interviewing everyone, and just, minting the audio files for that? What was that like, as a CEO of the company? What was the experience like for you?
Well, I have done over 500 interviews for NFT NYC alone. So I started interviewing our speakers. And they're all live. So it's definitely unique, the body of work that I've co-created with our community. Like in 2018, I started. I think I was probably the first to ever interview Duncan and Griffith Cock-Foster, the twins that started Nifty Gateway, which was acquired by Gemini, the Winklevoss twins. I think I was the first to interview maybe Alex and Devin from OpenSea. Not 100% on that. I think I was the first to interview a bunch of artists, people like Josie Bellini, and so there was no platform for NFTs. CryptoKitties had their moment end of 2017, broke the Ethereum network. But by the 2018 timeframe, like there was no real infrastructure. Things weren't happening. Like CryptoPunks weren't popular. You could still get a CryptoPunk basically for free from a friend. Bored Apes had never even been an idea at that point. And so I did all these interviews. And so what we did this year at NFT.NYC was I had you and myself and 7 other creators. And the 9 of us, we interviewed 138 speakers. And so I think for me, one thing that was really nice is I was able to get out of the way. You know, like it wasn't me interviewing 138 people. Like I interviewed a dozen. And the other, 125 plus were done by you and all the other creators, including my boys. My 15th, their 11-year-old boys were part of that. So I think one of the things for me was having the infrastructure in terms of talent, like you being incredible talent as a content creator with your channel, Miss Modern Mulan, the way you represent ICP, to the ICP team, congratulations on having Julian be a part of your team. I think it's a great benefit to your community. But being able to create this content, not just for you, and not just for the interviewee, and not just for our company, and not just for the event, it was like so many different elements, so many different win-win things were happening. And if I think like for you, you got to interview the founder of the ERC 721 protocol, my buddy William, and so like what a cool experience for you. You've been in the NFT space for a while, and so a lot of the things that I loved most was what was happening, not just in the camera, but also behind the scenes, like watching my co-founder Landrew with our friend Nigel Wright, with my wife Riza, with Ted Haas who runs ethics, and all these different people behind the scenes, like kind of behind and making sure it's happening. We have 20 computers going, so every time a new interviewee goes up, it's their computer, so we can kind of keep the things rolling without having to use everybody's devices. And I just think it was special. I think it was a special time.
Oh, this reminds me of a story about this. I'm not sure about the details, but there was this speaker who spoke at the conference, didn't get to record everything, but had the chance to be interviewed at the ATTN.LIVE booth. And had all of that minted, and it's just immortalized forever. Can you tell that story for us?
Yeah, so I mean, if you think about people coming to NFT NYC, they're coming there with the hope there's an audience, and a lot of times there's not. This is not just unique to NFT NYC, this is across most conferences. If you have a workshop in a side room off the main stage, in fact, even the main stage can get really lean. You can even have the main stage every seat full when you start, and then somehow in the afternoon or toward the end of the day, it's like there's hardly anybody there. So you have these people show up, and then there's nobody there. Okay, so then you hope it's recorded. Maybe it is, like the main stage was recorded. Maybe it's not, like some of the rooms were not. So then you scramble and you try to like get your cell phone out and try to record it. And so this is the experience for the speaker. So when they came to our booth, we were able to provide high quality video and audio recording that was streamed to YouTube in addition to the minting. So in terms of being immortalized, when somebody sat down with you and you interviewed them at NFT NYC, we were minting Polygon tokens on your MetaMask wallet, and they belong to you, and they would send some tokens to the guest so they have something to remember it by. They can keep it, they can sell it, they can give it away. And those show up in your wallet on OpenSea and Rarible and Element. And if somebody chooses to pay the gas fee for Ethereum, it'll also show up on Super Rare as well as Mintable. So I think there is something unique. I remember some people were nervous, like, oh, this is gonna be on the blockchain. Like, I don't know what I want to say. Like, I don't want to, this is like forever. And I guess that is true, but everything on the internet is forever too. It's just that Google is the one that has it all, right? They have it all on their servers. Where when you put something on the Ethereum or Polygon blockchain, it's forever, but it's forever distributed across everybody's different, decentralized servers. It's just a different approach to technology.
That was an incredible experience. Again, it was great for us, but a win-win because the people we spoke to, they were also so thrilled that you can do this now. Like minting your own NFT is this easy now. It's accessible, and I feel that ultimately that's the goal for everyone, right? Now I want to circle back to what you said, how the the utilities for this, the possible utilities for these are endless. Like,
Right.
you could either like keep them for yourself as
Yeah.
a memorabilia, as collectors, like
Right.
other NFT collectors do that, but you could also have use cases for your followers, like
Yes.
for access and things like that. And this could be very, very helpful, especially for creators in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Now, we had our first roundtable on Saturday. Yeah, which was
Web3 AI.
amazing.
It was very special.
It really
I'm
was
so
special.
happy with how that went.
We had, a bunch of creators. We also had lawyers, not only Web3 creators, which I found interesting. There were, DJs, podcasters in the Web2 space.
Right.
And we just basically shared ideas on the impact of innovation on multiple things. And of course, I also enjoyed how the conversation went to, how ATTN.LIVE could amplify the future of Filipinos specifically.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, why did you decide to have the first roundtable here in the Philippines?
Yeah.
I know it has a special place in your heart, but I want to hear it from you. What's in the Philippines? What kind of talents do you see here?
Well, I'll answer that question in a specific way about what I see in the Philippines and with Filipino people, but I'll start with you. So I always knew how talented you were in terms of when we met a year and a half or so ago at the first Philippine Blockchain Week, it was clear. I met you and Giu and Jerry
On the
and
balcony?
MJ on the balcony and a bunch of, and I was really drawn to all of you. And over time, I definitely spent a lot more time with you and Giu. We would go out of our way to get together when I was in town, and we would create content. And it was clear to me, both in my physical interaction with you, as well as what I would see online, you bring a lot to the table when it comes to being a personality for a brand like ICP, when it comes to being a content creator. It's clear you're not just running through the motions. You're not just this archetype. So you, as a person, are not one archetype. Even to the extent of in Santa Cruz, when I had you and Kay and Giu and Jerry come with me to Santa Cruz, spend time with my family and be at the beach house and stuff. You weren't just doing brand promotions or just making videos about, the sea lions or the sunsets. It was different. All your things were a bit different. But one thing that I really saw clearly in you on Saturday, as well as at NFT NYC, was your ability to clearly articulate complicated topics. So I have had a difficult time explaining ATTN.LIVE. People on my team, they've been on my team for a year, still have a hard time understanding what it is that we do, because it is 3 different inventions. We invented our product. We got the patent accepted in 2020. Then we released the white paper, because I had a sense that we were on the brink of something really significant, and that still is emerging. But I've had a hard time explaining it to people. And I remember at NFT NYC, you explained it so well. You just articulated so well what we were doing, how our product works. And then again, this Saturday, you did the same thing. So when you ask, what do I see in the Philippines? I see people like you that represent your culture and represent what people here are capable of as content creators, as spokespeople, as artists, as just friends, as co-creators of things. And so I think you are a great example of what all your peers are capable of. So one thing I just say personally is what do I see in the Philippines? I see I see people like you.
That's so kind.
Yeah, I mean it.
What's in the Philippines? What kind of talents do you see here?
Well, I'll answer that question in a specific way about what I see in the Philippines and with Filipino people, but I'll start with you. So I always knew how talented you were in terms of when we met a year and a half or so ago at the first Philippine Blockchain Week. It was clear. I met you and Giu and Jerry
On the
and
balcony?
MJ on the balcony and a bunch of, and I was really drawn to all of you. And over time, I definitely spent a lot more time with you and Giu. We would go out of our way to get together when I was in town, and we would create content. And it was clear to me, both in my physical interaction with you, as well as what I would see online, you bring a lot to the table when it comes to being a personality for a brand like ICP, when it comes to being a content creator. like it's clear you're not just running through the motions. You're not just this archetype. So you as a person are not one archetype. Even to the extent of like in Santa Cruz, when I had you and Kay and Gio and Jerry come with me to Santa Cruz, spend time with my family and be at the beach house and stuff. It wasn't, you weren't just doing brand promotions or just making videos about, you know, the sea lions or the sunsets. Like it was different. All your things were a bit different. But one thing that I really saw clearly in you on Saturday, as well as at NFT.NYC, was your ability to clearly articulate complicated topics. So I have had a difficult time explaining ATTN.LIVE. People on my team, they've been on my team for like a year, still have a hard time understanding what it is that we do, because it is 3 different inventions. You know, we invented our product, we got the patent accepted in 2020, then we released the white paper, because I had a sense that we were on the brink of something really significant, and that still is emerging. But I've had a hard time explaining it to people, and like I remember at NFT.NYC, you explained it so well. You know, like you just articulated so well what we were doing, how our product works, and then again this Saturday, you did the same thing. So when you ask, like, what do I see in the Philippines? I see people like you that represent your culture and represent what people here are capable of as content creators, as spokespeople, as artists, as just friends, as co-creators of things. And so I think you are a great example of what all your peers are capable of. So one thing I just say personally is like, what do I see in the Philippines? I see people, I see people like you.
That's so kind.
Yeah, I mean it. So as far as the Philippines, you know, I said this at the end of the day. I said, it was proposed to me, do Filipinos have a shot? Like, is there any chance that Filipinos are going to actually have a crack at changing the story, right? It's been said that, you know, everybody individually and culturally, we are the product of the stories we believe.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of Filipinos believe a story of we're taken advantage of, we're poor, you know, this kind of story of who we've been, how we've been, you know, kind of suppressed, and we're still suppressed, and we don't make money, and we work so hard, like all the like it's like this story that's believed, and that story perpetuates the same thing. It like remanifests the same type of struggle over and over again. So it was presented to me as a question, you know, hey, is there any chance? And my response first was like data. Okay, so there's 114 million Filipinos. There's 26 plus million just in Manila. 92% of Filipinos are connected and have a cell phone. Average age is under 27 years old. At one point, more people had MetaMask wallets in the city than the rest of the world combined. Then more people had MetaMask wallets in this country than the rest of the world combined. And still today, it's one of the most, you know, integrated, decentralized communities in the entire world. You have the number 1 export as human capital, Filipinos. The number 1 import is fiat currency. The number 1 expense is the fee you pay to bring fiat currency in. You know, you have all these different metrics. The average, if you look at the minimum wage, it's $12 per day in Manila.
Per day.
Yeah, per day, not per hour, and $15 per hour in America. It's $10 per day outside of Manila.
Yes.
So when you look at this whole thing combined, what you see is a young, connected population that's fully blockchain aware.
Yeah.
You have one of the 5 largest cities in the world. You have a vibrant country. You have a country that has basically sent out their culture to the entire world. Like every nook and cranny of the globe is dependent upon Filipino workers, the OFWs, right? The overseas workers, or OFW.
RFW.
Yeah, that's right. So OFW is overseas Filipino
workers.
And so you've exported Filipinos, you've imported fiat currency, and then if you're only making an average of, call it $12 a day, like the minimum wage workers, let's say you get a great job in Manila. Was it $20 a day? You know, it's like even the greatest job isn't even making $1,000 a month USD. So with that being said, because of how much honor I have for the Filipino culture, because of how much I believe the Filipinos have an advantage in terms of the lack of income is actually an advantage, because the lack of income means that if a Filipino can figure out a way to increase their income by $100 a month,
Yeah.
like that's a life-changing
huge.
experience. Where if a European or an American changes their income by $100 a month, it's like a day's wage. For some, it's an hour's wage. So it doesn't really make a difference. So the willingness for a Filipino to go through the hard work of figuring things out and making things happen in this new decentralized world is very high because of the impact financially. Their ability to do so, because they all have phones and connectivity, and they're young, and and they get to listen to you and Giu and Jerry and MJ and everybody else kind of explain how these things work, is also they're highly educated day in, day out, every single day on TikTok. Every single day there's things popping off. So I just feel I could not be more optimistic about the Philippines as a country, about Filipinos as a people. I think Filipinos are highly honorable people that are often put in very compromised situations where a person says, well, everything around me that's powerful is corrupt, which isn't necessarily true. I'm just saying that's what people may feel is true. So what other choice do I have?
Yeah.
Like, it's like kids in the ghetto in America. They say, okay, I'm not good enough at basketball. I'm not good enough at football. So my only real options are selling drugs or selling my body or selling somebody else's body. And so that's why a lot of these kids in America end up in gangs, because it's like, what other choice do I have?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of that, what other choice do I have energy going on in the Philippines, especially outside of Manila, where there's even less opportunities in the provinces, where people say, well, I don't have any good options. Like, you have parents dependent on their kids. The kids are the breadwinners. The kids' families end up aging out. They get a family. Now they're gone. So it ends up like falling on the shoulders of the youngest kid, a lot of times, or maybe it is the oldest kid. And now this kid has like the family, the weight on their shoulders. Why? Because the kid got into crypto. Now the young son or daughter makes enough money that they can like start a bar or start a laundromat or start an Airbnb or start this thing. And now they do that so they can try to prop their parents and their brothers and sisters and their nieces and nephews up on their shoulders. And then it puts them in positions where it's like they may have 90,000 followers on YouTube and YouTube shuts the channel down. And now all that income that was dependent is gone. And so now what other choice do I have? So hopefully the person finds a better alternative than doing things that are not as honorable, because I think the culture by default here is a culture of honor and a culture that wants to pursue like being a hard worker, doing great things, and being valued for it. But I think sometimes there's a lack of opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's you got it there. Like the lack of opportunity, like when you have very limited options, it's so hard for someone to imagine a better life for themselves, or for other people as well. But what this is doing, like you coming here and showing, hey, this is another possible streaming revenue for you, or there are other possibilities that you can explore, this being one of them. I think you break that narrative that you do have options. Here's one. You do have options. Look at these other people who are doing this now for a living, who have opened doors for themselves and things like that. And I think that's incredibly powerful. I feel that you saw Sir Ellie earlier. We are having these, code camps, hackathons, university tours, so that we can educate people to, again, also break that narrative that you do have options. There are people willing to help, give you free resources, and just mentor you and support you in making sure that, we ride along the how do you call it, the evolving technology that we have now. Because, again, usually when people say like, oh, Filipinos are just good for user acquisition, or they're just good for this and that, I think we've proven now that that's not true. You're working with Filipinos, not only, with us as, you have us as creators, you are also talking to developers, for social media marketing or handling and things like that. And I feel that you are able to amplify the future by providing, again, options for Filipinos, and that's incredibly exciting. Yeah. So how do you envision Attention Live, say 5 years from now, where we keep doing this, we keep
Sure.
introducing it to Filipinos? How do you see Attention Live, say 5, 10 years from now?
Yeah, so I call Attention Live a attention engine. So it's an automated machine to create attention for creators and to ultimately benefit those that give creators their attention.
Yeah.
A method by which they can be benefited. I believe that Attention Live is an abundance machine.
Yeah.
So I do believe that even if our company is never valued at like $10 billion like a decacorn or even $1 billion US as a unicorn, I do believe we'll have billions of users. I do believe that we'll impact trillions of dollars across the global economy one day. And it'll be fully independent of us. You know, like we have built a decentralized system. And the interesting thing is whether it's you or somebody that watches or listens to this live or watches or listens to this in a few months or even a few years, somebody is going to have enough grit and tenacity to figure out how to bundle in utility to tokens that they create.
Yeah.
And they're going to make things happen. You know, when I first sat down with you and the other 5 creators plus my wife, so the 7 of you, and I asked all of you to be the co-organizers of the event we did on Saturday, Web3 AI, and the event that's going to be coming September 14th. You know, I wanted it to be an event organized by Filipinos for Filipinos. And in that, you know, I remember telling all of you, you know, one of you can be unlimited success and wealth with this system if you choose.
Yeah.
You know, because one day every single house deed will be a NFT, every membership, every receipt, every collectible, every car, pink slip, it'll all be NFTs. And so how are you going to bundle in NFTs into your existing or new content? It's really up to you. So I see our system being the manifestation of what Satoshi talked about in the Bitcoin white paper, what Vitalik and his team were talking about when they launched Ethereum, what Dominic and his team at Definity, known as ICP for their token, has been talking about, what Manson Lehman from Hedera, like all these different leaders have been talking about this idea of decentralization, taking the power from the few and giving that power to the many. And some of the many are going to rise above and they're going to do something extraordinary. Like Kobe Bryant is a really well-known basketball player. I see a lot of Kobe Bryant wear Black Mamba shirts and sweatpants and hats
Everything.
in the Philippines, right?
Underwear too. It's everywhere.
He goes in all the private places. Now, Kobe, like Michael Jordan, like LeBron, those guys may have been great athletes, but the reason they were so great is because of their grit and tenacity. And I'm waiting until somebody treats content creation and they treat their community with the same intensity that an athlete treats their craft and their fans. Like, where are the Kobe Bryants? Is Mr. Beast, is he the Kobe Bryant of the content creators? Is it Casey Neistat? Is it Oprah Winfrey? Like, you know, if you look at Oprah, I mean, she was just a girl that had a horrendous upbringing and then became basically the most well-known, most famous personality content creator in America. She had every single thing against her and she succeeded. You know, I always think of Oprah as like that woman that basically treated content creation for her generation like an athlete. Like she took that type of
She was a
intensity,
powerhouse.
you know. So where are the young people that are going to do more than just make a TikTok video once a day, or do more than just this brand deal, or make some money off this AdSense thing? Where are those that are going to say, nothing can stop me, nothing can be a barrier between me and an audience, I can do anything I want, I can provide any utility I want, I can have any rules I want, like I will write my own story, and this is the story I'm writing, this is the invitation I'm making to my audience of fans, and I'm going to treat my craft like I'm an athlete. Like
Yeah.
Kobe went and he dribbled the ball, all day long, and he shot free throws all day long.
Yeah.
And you look at Steph Curry on the Warriors, same thing. It's like you can watch videos of him literally sinking like 100 3-pointers in a row.
Oh, that's amazing. I saw this one.
And you think to yourself, how does Steph sink 2 3-pointers in a row, let alone 100? I mean, he even started having fun and like not looking, just doing the no look sinks, And why? It's because he treats basketball with a level of intensity and a level of commitment that most people don't treat their work. And I do understand, and I'll hand it back to you in just a second. I do understand this. Athletes get a lot of praise and recognition. But they also have their peers that are trying to make them look bad all the time. So athletics is a very weird thing. Like if you look at, proper football, what we call soccer in America.
Yeah.
If you look at proper football, like every pro athlete, like Ronaldo, he gets all this praise and all this glory and all this money and all this attention. But Messi, same thing. Those two guys, if they play against each other, they're trying to make the other guy look bad. So you have pro athletes, they get the brand deals, they get the merch deals, they get the attention, they get the sports car and the special poster and the magazine cover, and they get all the money and they get all the opportunities. But when they're on the field, half of the field is trying to make them look like an idiot. So it's not only wonderful to be a pro athlete, it's also incredibly difficult because every time you're playing, half the other professionals in your business are trying to make you look bad.
And you have the audience too, half of them booing you.
Totally.
It's so stressful.
So you think about being a content creator and you're like, oh, people in my comments are mean. It's like, yeah, that's a bummer. Maybe don't look. And you're like, oh, it's hard to compete because Mr. Beast has all the money and Casey Neistat is such a great videographer and Oprah Winfrey, everybody knows her name and everybody will interview with her. And it's like, are you going to spend your time talking about the advantages other people have? Or are you going to thank Oprah for being a lighthouse and showing you what's possible? Are you going to thank Casey for being a lighthouse and showing you what's possible? You're going to thank Mr. Beast for being a lighthouse and showing you what's possible. So are you going to complain about, oh, the time has come and gone, like, look, only they can do that? Or are you going to rise above and say, if they can, I can. If they can accomplish that, so can I. In fact, I'm unique. I'm one of one. I'm a snowflake. There's no one like me.
I love that.
And I'm going to create something that's unique just to me. And at least I'm not an athlete that has half the field trying to make me look like an idiot.
Oh, yeah.
And at least I'm not dealing with like sports commentators that are constantly picking on every single thing I do. And at least I don't have entire communities of people that are so passionate about their team that any little mistake I make, even my own fans are just throwing hate at me all the time. So, there's certain things about athleticism and pro athlete that is so cool. But there's certain things that are so relieving about the environment of being a content creator that should be recognized and enjoyed and appreciated as well.
That is so inspiring. I mean, you are a man of great stories. When someone asks me, like, who is Ian Utile? That's what I say. Ian is a man of great stories. And, may it be stories from these famous people or of yours or people you've met. You share very great and inspiring stories. With that said, I know you've interviewed so many people. I want to hear, can you give a message to everyone, like maybe inspire them to just find their space in our field and how they can, amplify the future, maybe through ATTN.LIVE or through whatever technology we have now?
Well, it takes a long time to figure yourself out. So, we believe stories about ourselves. A lot of them come from other people. I'm really different than my father. I'm really close with my dad, but we really couldn't be more different from one another, right? He's a carpenter. He's a general contractor. He never spends any money. He's always stayed out of debt. He has always been overly cautious, risk adverse. He could have bought apartment complexes, but he chose not to. He chose to build one home at a time. And so I'm so risk oriented that when my dad has watched my life since I've been a little kid, I know he often just kind of thinks to himself, why does Ian do the things he does? Like, I don't get it, but whatever. I'll just be like, right on, do your thing. So one thing is, I have the advantage of having parents that are married, 50 years this August. I have the advantage, it's amazing. I have the advantage of having a really loving, connected relationship with them. I have the advantage of having their support, even if they weren't always like verbally, we're proud of you and, or whatever. But I always emotionally felt that. But on the other hand, nobody understood me. Like, I'm not like anybody else. I don't know anybody that does what I do, or I don't have peers that I go, oh, we're cut from the same cloth, we're just like each other. Like, I don't have people like that. So it's lonely to be me, and I have to surround myself with people so that I can eliminate some of that consistent sense of loneliness by having other people I'm bonding with and trying to find things in common. So in one regard, like when I was growing up, I didn't have people looking at me and like constantly telling me about my greatness or my potential. I asked a mentor one time, I said, what do you do if your son or your daughter is constantly saying good things about themselves? Because I remember when I was young, I would say good things about myself, like in front of my parents. Like, I'm so good at math. I got 100 out of 100 on this thing. Or, I'm so creative. I invented this new way of doing this thing. And my dad was like quick to like scold me. He would say,
he'd humble you really fast.
Yeah, he wouldn't like ridicule me, but he'd say like, Ian, the proverb in the Bible says, let another man praise you and not your own lips. And it was his way of saying, shut up. Don't say that about yourself. You're not representing me well. You're my son. When you speak, people judge me. I don't like that. You sound arrogant. And so I remember as a kid, I was always kind of corrected. Like, okay, don't say I'm great. Okay, like be small. Think small. So I was asking my mentor, I said, hey, what do you do? Because your kids go through phases where they think they're amazing. And at that point, who is 15 today, I don't know, he was like 10 or 8, and he kept telling me how amazing he was at something. And my mentor says, oh, when my kids do that, I just tell them, wow, what a big responsibility. And I just thought, that's how you change the narrative. Like, when people around me try to say how great they are, instead of me saying, don't do that, shame on you, scold you. And I'm not saying my dad shouldn't have. My dad had every right to ask me to represent our family the way he wanted, and I honor that. I'm just saying that his response to me in that way over time made me want to be small and maybe not want to be big. And what my other mentor had said to me is, let your children be big and remind them of the responsibility they have, right? If you look at like Jesus as a model, very, very interesting model of leadership, because there were two brothers, James and John, that were two of his 12 kind of, Padawans, right? Jesus is the Jedi of 2,000 years ago in the Jewish realm, and these 12 were the Padawans, right? They're learning how to wield the lightsaber of love. And these two sons go to their mom, and they say, hey, Mom, get Jesus to let us be like number 1 and number 2 in the kingdom of, because they all thought Jesus is going to be king. He's going to overthrow the Roman government. He's going to overthrow the Jewish religion. He's going to overthrow the business practices that are suppressing everybody and taking advantage of everybody. And, everything's corrupt, just like it's always been, right? Just Jesus is going to save us. He's going to be the king, King Jesus, And so the mom goes to Jesus and said, and now the other 10 disciples, the Padawans, the followers, they're super pissed. Like enraged, fire's coming out their ears. Like, those guys, how dare they do that? Trying to go behind our back and get their mom. What kind of loser gets their mom to try to get them a better position? And so Jesus knows. Now, I wasn't there. Okay, I don't actually know what happened. I just know what the sacred scriptures have told, the stories, right? And the way the story goes is you have the two with the mom. They're trying to get the top position. And then you have the 10 that are enraged with those two. And so he doesn't say, shame on you. You're bad. Don't try to be big. He doesn't say, you 10, if you want to be great, find an advantage. Go find your mom, like make it happen. Or he doesn't say, oh, you 10, you're all so humble. Like he doesn't say anything like that. Like if you look through the things that we believe Jesus said and did, he doesn't really tell people like how to live. He doesn't really correct a lot of people, right? People get caught in adultery and he says, you're forgiven. Like just go and live a righteous life. He doesn't cast shame upon people, even when they are proud and arrogant. And so what he says instead is, it's great that you want to be great. I'm so proud of all of you for wanting to be great. The greatest in my kingdom will be the least. If you want to be the most lifted, then you'll lift everybody else.
Yeah.
If you want to be the most seen, then you'll make everybody else seen. It's this upside down kingdom. It's this reverse element. So what you see in that model is when somebody says, I'm great, like, Mom, go tell Jesus I should be at his right and my brother should be at his left. Jesus doesn't say to the mom, like, what's wrong with you? Why don't you get your boys in line? He doesn't say to the guys, like, how dare you try to wiggle your way in? Instead, he tells them how to be great. And the way to be great is to serve.
Yeah.
The last night he spends with everybody, he got down on his knees. He got a bucket of water. He washed all of his disciples' feet, which is the lowest. It was the nastiest. Remember, people were the Jesus joggers, right? They had the sandals with the open toes and the camel, the stuff's on the ground. And like, it's just disgusting to wash his feet. Like the lowest of the lowest of the lowest. The slave washes people's feet. And there he is on his last day washing their feet. And one of his guys says, you don't wash my feet. No way. I'm not worthy. And he says, if I don't wash your feet, then you're not clean. He said, well, then wash all of me. And then he says, no, your feet is enough because it's an example. And so it wasn't just that Jesus made a declaration of, it's okay to want to be great, but the way that you be great is you make others great. But it's that he also modeled it. He said, watch, this is greatness. Greatness is lowering yourself down and washing your followers' feet. And so I think when I grew up in an environment where it was really clear about not pursuing attention and being great and that. And instead it was all about pursuing humility and meekness and lowliness. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. But when I was like your age, in my 20s, and I had the commune traveling around the world with me. We did 200 concerts through Asia, Europe, and the States, and I had 30 people live at my house. I actually, in my 20s, didn't know I was a leader. I remember,
even with all of that,
it would just seem strange, but I think I had just been so trained not to think highly of myself.
Yeah.
I think I had just been so
ingrained in you.
It had just been like a rhythm, like be small, be quiet, don't be seen, don't draw attention, don't be great, don't talk about yourself. And so I spent like my 20s and into my 30s, just never going on a stage, never bringing attention to myself. Even like the fact I've interviewed 1,000 people is an example of that deeply ingrained thing, is that it's not about me. It's not about my greatness. It's not about what I've built. It's always about other people. It's always about other. So part of that's good, but part of that is also just the way I was trained.
Yeah.
I remember I did this leadership thing, and it was all these old guys. They were all in their 50s and 60s. I was the only guy in his 20s. And I got invited, and I'm like, but I'm not a leader. And the guy said to me something, how many people live at your house? And I was 15. He's like, 15 people live at your house? He said, why are they there? Because we're doing this thing. And he said, so were they all homeless? I'm like, no, they all had like jobs and houses and cars, and they sold their houses and they sold their cars and they left their job and they're like living with me. And are you paying them? No, we're like musicians. We're broke musicians. He's like, you're a leader. Like wherever you go, people follow. And I remember thinking, I'm a leader, okay. I'm a leader because wherever I go, people follow. Okay, so I had to like reorient my story. And so I think that one of the reasons why on Saturday I took time to point out things I love about GU. Or last week when we were all in the conference room and I took time to point out things I love in MJ. Or today on this conversation, taking time to point out things that I honor and love about you is because I recognize the importance of having people point out greatness in you and be like, I see greatness in you. I see what you're capable of. I see the gold in your life. Like you should feel grateful and thankful for who you are, and you should focus on your strengths and you should make things happen in that area. So I think that, I'm always changing my own story. When I was in my 30s, I really believed heavily in like this idea of Armageddon. The world's coming to an end. Everything's going to hell. Like, the earth is at the precipice of falling apart. Some people think because the climate. Some people think it's because Jesus is coming back. Some people think
Rapture.
It's because the Iranian, the Muslim leader is coming back. Some people think it's because of, AI. And there's always a reason why the world's ending. And then one day, one of my mentors wrote this book. And at the beginning of the book, he dedicated the book to his great grandkids. Who he'll never meet, but he'll celebrate for all eternity. Wow. And I remember just thinking about, like, it changed my life. My story changed. I thought, okay, I've been spending my life always thinking about my ancestor. My ancestor founded the city of San Jose, founded the Presidio in San Francisco, like really famous guy, 10 generations ago, who is like a foundational part of the state of California. And I would always tell his story. And it was okay for him to be great. Like it was okay for Lieutenant Moraga to be great and to have this great legacy and for his family to do these great things. But I would never allow myself the freedom to think about like 250 years from now and like the impact. And so when I read that book, I remember my story changed. My story changed in terms of, okay, like maybe the rapture is real. Maybe climate change is going to destroy the earth. Maybe AI destroys the earth. Maybe Christians have it wrong and the Muslims have it right. And it's the Muslim savior that's coming. Like, I don't know. All I know is that like my beliefs are going to get fixed when I die. Whatever things I'm sure of are probably going to be readjusted after I take my last breath. If it's true and our spirit goes on to live ongoing or for eternity. I'm assuming that I probably don't have it all figured out. And I just thought, well, maybe, but maybe not. And I bet that Lieutenant Moraga thought to himself that maybe the world was going to end too. Because it's always been a common thing. Yeah. But he still chose to be an entrepreneur, to start the cities, to start the towns, to have the families, to make things happen. And it's like, I need to change my story and have a story that it's okay for me to do greatness. I need to have a story to where I make room for me to come to the Philippines, marry a Filipina, and build a legacy here together, both in our family and in our business. I need to have a new story that says that when people see greatness in themselves and they bring attention to themselves, that my story is not saying, hey, stop, be small, but that my story is like, yes, exactly, and also this, and also that. And so changing your story and learning yourself and having clarity on your identity is so important if you want to make an impact first in your own life, just in your own happiness and joyfulness and contentment, and then also with other people. So that's kind of a strange way to answer your question about stories, but I think it's important that people recognize the stories they used to believe, the stories they believe now, why they used to believe things, and why they've changed their mind, and why they've changed the stories. And if you're listening or watching, like, What story do you want to change? Like, what's the story you've been telling yourself, or your mom's been telling you, or your brother's been telling you, or your culture's been telling you, or your faith has been telling you, or the internet has been telling you? What's the story that you keep believing about yourself that probably isn't true? And maybe if you changed your story, you would then change your life.
That is amazing, Ian. Thank you so much
Yes.
for this interview. For a minute, I forgot this was an interview. I was like, yes, unpaid therapist. Tell me more. No, but yeah, it's incredibly powerful. And again, what did I tell you? A man of great stories. Thank you so much, Ian.
Yes.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Have a happy day.